Good evening. Welcome once again to another presentation of our broadcast here in the Issues Room this evening. Is our 195th broadcast. We're broadcasting live from Monrovia, Liberia. I am Volcano Shelton this evening with you, and it's nighttime here in Monrovia, 11 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, and of course, 7 p.m. on the East Coast in the U.S. This evening, we're going to have a good one, as usual. Some of the things we're going to be looking at is the runoff elections to be held on November 14. How prepared is the National Elections Commission? We know the commission said there was no money for a runoff. Preparation was not up to date in terms of finance, and all of a sudden they can now hold a runoff elections, and that will be for November 14. We're also going to look at why right now, as a result of these runoff, we're going to see both the CDC and the United Party lobbying with other political parties and supporters of those political parties um, to find some kind of support in this second round. And interestingly, there are photos circulating on social media of Alexander Cummings of the CPP visiting President Weah with his entourage and also visiting Ambassador Boykai. Um, what's that conversation is like? What are they talking about? Why is he visiting both sides when in fact he was in opposition the other day? And it stood, I guess he stood firm that he would support nothing CDC. So why is he visiting both sides? I thought he would just say, listen, I'm with you, my man Boyka. Let's continue this run. But instead, they're holding consultations. Then we want to see how these political parties and the National Elections Commission, the civil society, social media, can mobilize the citizens to turn out in the mass on November 14. Because the previous experience, some people, I don't know if they want to go stand in the lines again for hours just to cast a ballot. So a lot of work needs to be done. But who am I to say it? Let me bring in my colleagues here tonight. I have with me Alphonso, who is all set. Welcome, Alfonso. Good to see you.
Thank you, Volcano. Good to see you. And I look forward to an exciting conversation.
And quickly, Fergie Monu, Raymond Clark, and Maria Gardell. Good to see you folks here tonight. Please share the word. Please invite others to join us here. Moses, can you just fix yourself with your headline? Uh, and let's get that going before I bring you live to screen. So yes, understandably, these were the things that some of the things we'll be talking about tonight. But today, I was able to shoot a video. I don't know if you did see the video, but it had to do with um, a man who uh, body was thrown on GSA Road. Uh, Apparently, he had gone to armed rob
Mm.
and he met his demise, and his body was thrown out on the street this morning. So they didn't move his body until late afternoon. But the neighbors have speculated that sometimes these kinds of, you know, situation, the body must stay there for days before the authority comes. But surprisingly, they were able to remove the body. Moses, you're still too low. If I bring you the screen, look here.
Am I
So
too low?
yeah, and I hate for you to be doing that on screen. But anyway, so as I was saying, right? So um, This guy from the story in the neighborhood, and I went and I saw he went to an apartment duplex right around the community, crashed the iron bars of the kitchen. In the process, shattered one of the sliding glass and jumped in the house.
Wow.
And when he jumped down in the kitchen, apparently he stumbled across a bucket and the noise, And so he ran straight. The girl yelled, rogue, and he went and attacked her, pushed her in the room. And
Oh,
from the story, he took his clothes down, his pants down, in an attempt, to mess with her. And just then, her brother decided that he can't hang around and see this happen. So he came out of the other room, jumped in there, and this guy called him and said he gashed the brother. Whatever happened, what didn't happen, the people were yelling rogue, rogue, and so the neighbors came around and they surrounded the house. No way for the man to leave. And interestingly, what happened, what didn't happen, that's the end of the story. So his body was thrown out there on GSA Road. Nobody knows. Nobody came to claim until later on when the police got to the scene and they put his body in the pickup. There were three ladies crying. I don't know if they were relatives or what, but you can clearly see that he's a criminal by the different scars on his body. You can imagine he's been in a lot of fights, and this one was the last fight he had. But the picture here is that when the country is not providing opportunities, for its citizens, when no work, uh, and I'm not saying that it has anything to do with Mr. Weir government. We have had criminals time immemorial. We've had armed robbers time immemorial. We had people who were burglarized people's house in an attempt to steal and attack them. But I think it has gotten so profound in these last days. And what is bothersome when the president says everyone should have CCTV, and so sometimes in these circumstances, the criminals will meet their demise because the people are resolved to protect themselves. And this was an unfortunate situation. Uh, but again, at least there's one armed robber down, and hopefully it sends a message in that neighborhood. Um, but I told to shoot that video today because the body was just laying there in the street. Everybody was passing, people frying kala, people living large, people in the drinking spot, and the body laying there like we on another planet, Moses. And that's why I had to go live. I couldn't just stomach it. And it was just like normal. And the neighbors told me it's normal. This body might be here for 3 days. And I was hoping it didn't happen because it was right across the street from me. And the guy is laying there in the street. Come in, gentlemen.
Well, look, I would like to say first, good evening to the both of you and to the many viewers wherever you are. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I want to say it's a pleasure to be here for this podcast, which is very, very important today. But to quickly add on to what you were saying regarding the gentleman whose remain was seen in the street, the reported criminal. I heard you say that you don't want to put this squarely at the feet of Mr. Weir or the CDC administration.
Absolutely not.
Volcano, I would beg to disagree with you on that
Okay.
because in 2018, when George Weah on January 22nd uh, took the oath of office, one of the commitments that he made was that he will uphold the rule of law. It's like you, Volcano, when you take over from somebody at a job and you say, I have come to make it better, but not to degenerate. And into this Liberia, the problem of lawlessness is so brazen that no one cares. That no one cares. People are dying in numbers. Properties are broken into. Volcano, you are in Liberia. Look at how the homes are built. The Liberia that you and I grew up in. People never had double onion bars. They never had metal doors. Only because you have a government that is less interested in anything that has to do with adhering to the rule of law. Even the president himself does not adhere to the rule of law. He breaks the law consistently. So I put this at his feet. Yeah, that's how I would like to come in.
Yeah,
Alfonso?
yeah. Poverty breeds crime. I mean, and you're right, Volcano. Crime has always existed. Crime will continue to exist. But that's the reason why we have policies and institutions to address crime, to minimize it, and to punish people who commit crimes, and to also protect society against criminals. That's the role of the police force, for example, is to protect lives and property. But when you have a police force that's not equipped, when you do not have policies to address that, immediately after the war, I remember when there was no police force, when civil society had broken down and everything, communities have had watch groups, and I participated in some of those watch groups. The communities were able to come together and to protect themselves. Some of these things were happening then. That was when we didn't have an institution. But I have hoped that we would have graduated from that process up to this point. I mean, we've what? The war has ended, what, more than 24, 25 years ago now. There's no way that we should still have jungle justice and lawlessness in the country, where people take the laws into their own hands and where crime is rising. Again, poverty breeds crime. The failure of the government to, protect the citizens and residents alike, it's astounding. Lawlessness has really risen in the country, and very recently, I believe a few days ago, they recently nominated ambassador, U.S. ambassador to Liberia, mentioned that. He talked about lawlessness in Liberia. He talked about corruption and lawlessness in Liberia, and I mean we see it every day. It's the responsibility of the government to address it. In as much as this guy could have been a thief or criminal, or an attempted rapist, the punishment for stealing and for raping is not arbitrary murder. There's a reason why. And let me tell this story real quickly. The story is told, I don't know if it's real, that President Todman and his cabinet ministers, and including the justice minister and the military people, were walking down Broad Street from the old mansion that used to be between Broad and Ashland Street, walking up Broad Street, and they saw a guy running from in between the buildings, chasing his wife. They saw the woman running, saw the guy running. The guy had a single barrel rifle in his hand. He shot the woman and killed the woman right in front of the president, all of his entourage, justice minister, defense minister, director of police. And Totman said, "You kill him. You kill him." And the justice minister said, "No, Mr. President, the man must have his day in court. We have rule of law in this country." They arrested the man and they took him to court and they prosecuted him and they gave him the appropriate punishment. There's a reason for that. That you protect society against arbitrariness. You apply the law. I myself, right after the war, during the whole Ekoma thing, when they said nobody will travel in the night, I was walking one night, and the guy said, "They jumped, row, row, row." Somebody knew me there. I came from somewhere. The guy knew me. The guy said, "No, my man. No, 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 man. I'm a man. Man working with that. Man work with TPC. This, that, blah, blah, blah." Then he pulled me and said, "My man, don't do that. Don't walk at night. Don't do it. It's dangerous." I also know stories where one guy was leaving the same girlfriend who he and somebody were fighting over. The guy went there, met the guy there. The guy The girlfriend said, "My man, leave. Like my boyfriend here." The guy didn't leave. He waited until the boyfriend who was in the house was leaving, and he started yelling, "Row, row, row," and they grabbed the guy and killed him. The descended upon the man killed. I'm saying all of this to say that this whole idea of mob justice, this whole idea of people taking law into their own hands is wrong, and it's due to, as Moses said, a failure of the government to protect society and to provide law and order.
Thank you, gentlemen. Just wanted to throw that out there since I was privy to uh, be on the scene when this took place, and I thought to kind of share light, on the situation with regards to just the imagery coming and seeing a dead body just laying there uh, in the sun and rain, and it appeared that no one was going to do anything about it. And from what the neighbors and the community dwellers were saying, I was concerned. I had to go live just to create some kind of awareness that there was a body there and that they needed to act. But gentlemen, listen, we are back here tonight. I know a lot of you know why we're here tonight. We're here to talk about the inevitable runoff. It was spoken of prior to even the very election. People speculated that the elections were going to go to runoff, and here we are with the top two candidates. Uh, we know that the Elections Commission at some point earlier said that they were not prepared to even hold a runoff because they were not sufficiently supported for the first round. Today, they say they're ready, and apparently the date for the runoff is November 14. So that's about 3 weeks away. How prepared is the NEC? Um, but also, there's a picture going around of Alexander Cummings paying a visit to George Weah with his entourage, and also that same Cummings paid similar visit to that of Ambassador Boykai. What are they talking about? I thought they were all on the same side. And so why is he trying to weigh the playing field when they all were in it to go against Mr. Weir? We'll look at that as well. And we'll look at how can we all mobilize Liberians to turn out for the runoff election. So, gentlemen, welcome. Let's go into the conversation. Let's first begin, Moses and Alfonso, with the preparedness of the NEC. That's important because their preparation sets the tune to even have a credible runoff elections. Who wants to go and take the lead?
Well, I would take the lead. That's a very important question that you asked because the runoff election is not only about making money available, it's about accessibility of rural Liberia. Will we experience the same problem that we experienced on October the 10th, especially in the southeast, Sano, and River says when they became inaccessible? Will political parties also experience the same problem they experienced in the southeast when those areas, the roads that became impliable, people couldn't drive through because of deplorable road condition? Will that happen? Will we also experience the same kind of political violence that we experienced on December the 8th when uh, ARCO and the CDC supporters, went at it? Will we also experience the same situation that we witnessed, unfold in Lofa County? What is the commission doing to ensure that, you know, these problems are addressed? What is the commission doing to avoid a repetition of what we saw on October 10th with all these many ballot papers? I'm told now that is actually between 115 to 117,000 ballot papers of votes that were considered to be invalid. What is the commission doing to ensure that this time around people will be fully educated in the period of 3 weeks? So there are a lot that go into this. You are absolutely right. Is the commission ready? And I'm not sure if you are aware, but if you are not aware, as the commission prepares to go to the runoff election, three political parties, including the ANC, have already filed a petition with the very commission asking for forensic audit. They say they want the ballots recounted. They have concerns. They have concerns that the process was marred by dishonesty. Is the NEC going to put the runoff election on hold and pay attention to the requests that came from these three political parties, or will the NEC dismiss whatever these people are saying and say, "Hey, we just go ahead"? So there are so many things that need to be done to ensure that the runoff election is held, under a free and fair condition. Yeah,
So quickly, that's the photo I was talking about before you come here, Alfonso. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Mr. Cummings, uh, Charlene Bronskin, I notice here in the picture George Wisner. I see Toka Gilwear McIntosh in the background, and I see Samuel Toy here. I see Mariah Yakula. So that's the entourage of Cummings, and he paid a visit to President. We are right here standing. And then apparently he also decided to meet with Ambassador Boykai. As you can see here, I don't know this guy, but I know this is Jeremiah Kuhn. In
yeah.
the back is Amin Modad, the former chairman of the party, Mr. Cummings himself, Mr. Boyka, Toga McIntosh, uh,
Kawakole.
scheme. This is Professor Augustine Conan. He worked formerly at the foreign ministry, I believe, and he once taught at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. And then Jacob Akoli, again, Mariah and George Wisner. So, you know, what the dialogue is about, come to think about it. But we'll come back to that. Just wanted to talk about that briefly. So, Alfonso, let's come back to you on the issue of the preparedness of the NEC for these runoff.
Yeah, I mean, I have my own doubts as to the preparedness of the NEC, but at the same time, I want to say that um, during the first round, they did put a structure in place. So at the very least, they have magistrates in place in these locations already. They already have identified voting precincts and polling places, etc. So I think they can just utilize those existing structures and just focus now on transporting materials and all of that. So that would take away some of the work that they had to do in the first round. And I'm hoping that they will also utilize the experience of what happened in the first round and correct those errors that took place in the first round so that they do not happen again. In the first round, for instance, they had to move not just materials, but they had to move staff. Staff had to go get in place in the different places and all of that. It is my assumption, and I hope that the staff stay put in those places while the process was going on, so they don't have to transport staff again. And what they need, they have 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to transport materials, including ballot boxes and ballot papers and all of that. I'm also concerned by the preparedness of the political parties as well, because one of the critical things is political parties being able to identify people on the ground who will monitor the polls and make sure that everything goes right. One of the things I want to recommend to the election commission to avoid the chaos of what happened in the first round is that they increase the staffing or at least utilize some of the staff they have to have queue monitors people who would direct people to various polling, their polling places, because the precinct is just a whole big place. And then, of course, you have polling places within the precinct. For example, Tottenham has two. If you don't tell people, say, oh, your polling place is in classroom 10B, and you can go through the back door to go there. Everybody would just lined up in front of the building, and that was what was causing some of the problems. So I hope they recognize all of the errors that they made in the first round and are able to address those. So other issue I'm really concerned about is voter education. I do not think they have enough time to do voter education. But I also hope that civil society organizations, political parties, media institutions will assist in the process of doing voter education so that we don't have that massive amount of invalid votes as we did in the first round. That's just ridiculous. And next should train their staff as well. Because I read the report, the preliminary statement issued by the EU Observer Mission, where and in that statement they said that on a lot of the ballots, I believe they said about 40% or 70%. I'm not sure. I'll look it up while we're talking. The intent of the voter could be determined, but they still declare, and some political party people protested, but they still went ahead and declared the ballots invalid. Because the whole idea is the intent of the voter. It's not that but when they say check mark, then it must be check mark. They say check mark. If I put an X, it still is
It
a
is.
vote.
Yeah.
It still is a vote. If I write my check mark and the check bottom of the check is in the box for Volcano, but the top of the line touches Moses' name, that doesn't invalidate my
Makes it
vote.
invalid.
It doesn't make it invalid. So I think the election commission, I hope, educates its staff about that as well. Because as I said earlier, I read a report of the EU Observer Mission, the preliminary statement, and they said there were several ballots where the intent of the voter could be determined, but those ballots were still declared invalid. So we have to educate the voters, we have to educate the next staff, we have to educate the political party representatives at the polling places.
So there's a lot of work to be done, and honestly, political parties have a lot of work, particularly the opposition political party that want to unseat the ruling party.
Mhm.
Uh, they themselves have a lot of work to do. When you look at the the momentum right now, it doesn't seem to be like loud. Uh, People have been fatigued since October 10th, waiting for these results coming out. One sided, one person in the lead, another day, the other person in the lead. People just got to the point and say, okay, damn it, we'll just wait for the runoff. But how much are they, motivated to go to the runoff? I don't see it happening. I don't see that vibrance in the air. Uh, Everybody going by the normal businesses. So within these 3 weeks, how quick would that turnaround be, gentlemen? From your experience, seeing elections in Liberia, uh, in the United States per se. No, we have not gone to a runoff in America that I know of recently, but for the most part, you come to think about Liberia's elections over the last 3 year. I mean, three terms. Put it that way. 3 terms. Two were
Cyprus, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
3 terms. Uh, it's always going to runoff, and the incumbent won those runoff. Are we heading down history repeating itself, Alfonso?
So I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say that. I think both parties have shots here. They have shots at winning, and I would just quickly go over the reasons why I say so. Of course, the ruling party, has resources. They have people on the ground, and they can do, they can really campaign really hard. Um, the ruling party also basically has a region of the country, so to speak, in its back pocket. so they can just count on that and go fight in other places. That gives them a little bit of an edge or wind on the back, going into the second round, because they don't have to fight too much in the Southeast. Of the votes cast in the Southeast, they won overwhelmingly, more than 90 something percent. So they can just say, hey, even if we drop 5% in the Southeast or whatever, we're still good. Let's go fight the opposition on their own turf. So I can say that is kind of an edge for the ruling party, in addition, of course, to the illegal use of government resources, which, by the way, the EU observer mission pointed to. But I will also say that the opposition, especially as it concerns Boakai, because he's the person going the second round, does have an opportunity as well. And here's why I say so. So I think that the CDC, even though they won overwhelmingly in the Southeast, their win, the total win over the Unity Party, it's about 7,400 votes. 7,400 votes nationally. I think that the Unity Party can still play in certain places. For example, in Lofa, Unity Party got 57% of the vote. If Waka is from Lofa. So if they can work to increase that number to 65% of the vote, they're in good company. Let's go to Nimba. The Unity Party won overwhelmingly in Nimba, but also Councillor Gonglo took some votes away from them. Gonglo is no longer in the race. If they can take about 80 or 90% of the Gonglo votes, they're also in good standing. And they can play in Bong, they can play in other places, they can take Margibi. I think they can overcome the CDC's win in the Southeast, and overcome. And one thing we need to understand too is that second round is simple majority. So I think if they're able to do those three key things, they can win, and they can win easily. Another thing that I think that is in there, hopefully an advantage to them, is that the opposition, or the people who say they wanted to fix the country, or the people who say they want to reform the country, they fix us, they reform us, the people who are sweeping corruption and crime and everything out of the country, can begin to say, even though I didn't win, but the thing I wanted to sweep is still around.
Mhm.
The thing I wanted to reform is still around. The thing I wanted to fix is all around. So let me join the all of us who want to fix, who want to sweep, who want to reform, and who want to rescue, so we can do that. I don't want to go further because I know the other discussion you want us to go into is why are they having all those conversations. So I wouldn't go into that. I'll wait for you. But I think just looking at the chances of the people going into the second round, I wouldn't just say that the ruling party has an edge or slam dunk. I think all of the two parties going into the second round have good chances if they play their cards well.
Moses.
Well, look, I would say, like Alfonso said, that the runoff is going to be competitive. Despite all these terrible news report that we're getting out there, uh, the reported trucking in of foreigners from Sierra Leone, from Guinea, and other places, just to increase political support for the ruling party. Despite all of these reports, reports about insiders of the ruling party, allegedly buying photo registration cards for $100, from destitute Liberians, and all these things happening, and 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 you see, brazenly, insiders of the government, engaging in all forms of activities that tend to undermine the electoral process. I can tell you that this second round is going to be competitive with Canada, because if you do the data analysis, you're going to notice that on October 10th, a little over 56, approximately 57% of Liberians rejected Mr. Weah. 57%. George Weah came at the top with 43.84,
Hmm.
and Omer Boaka is uh, 43.44. So the difference, like Alfonso said earlier, is less than 1%. It's around 700. I mean, it's around 7,000 votes or so. So for an incumbent, the man will consider himself Liberia's best result, the most accomplished, for him to struggle, for the government to have, I mean, as even reported by the European Union, for the government to have allegedly, plundered the public coffer to support his campaign and come with such, an outcome, is a defeat. So I agree with Alfonso that this is going to be competitive. Liberians have resolved. I'm not saying it, but the outcome of the last election result shows that Liberians have resolved to make George Weah a one-term president because he's just not a good leader. So this is going to be competitive. Yeah.
So yes, when we look at the competitiveness of the runoff, it just says, you know, for me personally, from what I'm seeing here, as I said, I don't see the momentum. People are fatigued just from the October 10th marathon. Most people don't even want to stay in the line. So then, for these elections to really be, as you guys say, competitive, with everything we're hearing that the ruling party is doing at all cost just to retain power, then mobilization is critical. Mobilization is
100%
critical
right.
to get all Liberians to the poll, especially those who've registered. And also, mobilization is important for those 100 plus people who, uh, displayed invalid vote. Um, One of the things that I would say to myself, like someone asked or someone stated, it's impossible to know who voted the invalid vote because there's no form of identity. You only check
Yeah.
boxing and except you use your fingerprint, but do we have the forensic technology to determine through
Yeah.
fingerprint who did that, who voted wrong? But people now will just use the gut feeling and say, maybe that's me. Well, maybe I'm one of those people who screw up. So let me try to do it better next time.
Yeah.
But we cannot leave that bash out, that 114,000 plus.
Hmm.
That's a big fat chunk
It's a
of
lot.
of the people who should make the difference between the 50% and one. So a lot of work needs to be done, and usually we don't really put preparation into these kinds of things until the day of, and then a lot of irregularities, and then we want to complain or we want to correct. But it doesn't work like that. For Liberia, uh, we're not new to democracy. We're not new to elections. So why can we not just, do the right thing? Um, with regards to the runoff, this time around, after the runoff, there will only be two candidates in a race. So how are those votes going to be counted? Are we going back to the southeastern block to start and exhaust that with Montserrado County? Then we throw in a little bit of Magibi and Bone. But we need to focus. We need to focus as a people, the commission, the media, civil society, everyone has a stake in the second round to mobilize the people to turn up because the turning out of the people will make the difference in the results of the elections. And if we don't have a massive turnout, then you can imagine if the southeastern bloc, go as
Yeah.
it is, then there could be the picture painted for a second term Weir. But a
Oh
lot
yeah.
needs to be done. A lot needs to be put into the preparation, and the days are just around the corner. When you say November 14th, is about 3 weeks, barely 3 weeks actually,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
around the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Sorry. Well, quickly, Volcano. Part of the reason, and I think Liberian law regarding
Uh,
when
there's noise in
people,
the
I mean,
background
in
from
fact,
Alfonso.
It's, yeah, yeah, it's the
Yeah,
air. It's the
is
way his
the air
computer
from the stuff
functions.
out. Okay.
What?
yeah.
I
Go
think
ahead. Alfonso.
I'm sorry. I think Liberia election law regarding, announcing, oh, people waiting for a certain period to start campaigning and all of that. It's also a factor for kind of part of the reason why we're not seeing momentum and everything is I think it was only today that the election commission, if I'm not mistaken, announced that campaign has begun or can begin for the second round. So that whole nonsense of you can't campaign now and then you can start at this time and then do this. I think that whole thing. Campaigning should be all year round. Anytime people want to campaign. I don't see any reason why you put a pause on campaign and then you start it another time, especially in a country where we really need to mobilize and push people to go and vote. But you're right, a lot needs to be done to get people to because historically, second round sees a low voter turnout. Historically, in the last election, I think over 1 million people voted. In the first round, in the runoff, I think only 700,000, 800,000, or 900,000 people voted. So usually there is always a low voter turnout, and as you said, high voter turnout is really needed. It to make sure that the Liberian people are the ones who are actually en masse deciding who their leaders are, and also to make sure that whoever is elected really has the authority given to them by the majority of the Liberian people and not just maybe 600,000 people or 500,000 people. So you're very right. Motivation is really, really important. I'm concerned. You talk about vote counting. I'll come to that. I'm very concerned, however, you mentioned some of the issues with Kano that civil society organizations and opposition political parties are now raising some key things that happened in the first round that haven't been addressed, and everybody just go into the second round hoping that somehow those things will take care of themselves. For example, uh, we all saw, but even after that, the EU Observer Mission announced that government used a lot of government public resources, abundant use of public resources at their advantage. ELBC, the EU Observer Mission, said all the messages that were on ELBC, 70%, imagine we have what, 49 political parties? 70% of airtime on ELBC and on LNTV went to CDC. That is wrong. It's a public institution. All of the political parties are supposed to have equal airtime. You can't have other political party having to pay, but you're giving one political party undue advantage. They also talk about how government vehicles and government money was being used, how government officials and local government were mandating civil servants to attend government ruling party rallies and to vote for ruling party. That's
Mhm.
an unfair advantage, and I don't understand why opposition political parties are not even talking about these things now. Then you also talk about vote counting and vote announcement. The way vote counting was taking place and the way they were announcing the votes. That's also a major issue. In Sierra Leone, the way, what's his name, Marabio won um, fraudulently is that the election commission simply went ahead and just announced any kind of numbers without any bearing, without any basis. Um, and then when the opposition started complaining, they just went ahead and inducted him. What needs to happen in Liberia in terms of announcement? I hope the opposition can put their thinking cap on is neck it was not even announcing results, telling us where the numbers they were announcing were coming from. They just said we are 500,000 votes. boycott 500,000 votes. You should announce disaggregated results. And what does that mean? You go to a precinct. You said Monserrado County District number one. District number one. Precinct number 002. Todman High. We got 10 polling places there. At polling place number one, Moses Sandy got 5 votes. Volcano Shelton got 10. Alphonso got 1. Invalid votes, 7. Polling place. When you do that, people are able to follow the election results. So the people who have tally sheets in their hands are able to follow to make sure that you're announcing the results correctly. The public, there's a reason why the law says at the close of polling, the tally sheet should be posted on the wall. The public can also follow to make sure that the results you're announcing are correct. But if you just say Monserrado, Volcano got 10,000 votes, how do we follow? We don't know where you're announcing the votes from. That's how, when they do that, that's how they add votes to tally sheets without people knowing.
Hmm.
And yeah, and that's exactly what happens here. And NEC took their playbook, their page from the net from the Sierra Leone Election Commission playbook. So if they say Moses got 5,000 votes, you cannot challenge it because you don't know where the 5,000 votes are coming from. Even though your tally sheets are in your hand, even though your tally sheet against the wall, there's no way for you to challenge it. There's no way for you to know. I hope the opposition political parties, civil society organizations can't speak up on these things so NEC can announce and publish disaggregated results instead of just giving broad figures because it creates suspicion. They can come and say whatever and then just add numbers to the tally sheets and announce them. And there's nothing you can do because you don't even know where the numbers are coming from. Those are critical things that I hope can be addressed before the next round of election. Because if it's not addressed, we'll be in Supreme Court while inauguration is taking place, as happened in Sierra Leone.
Moses.
Look, it is true. We go into this election with the integrity of the commission, being in question because the commission has, over the months come across as not being neutral, not being credible. You made mention of how, results from the various voting precincts were being announced. I mean, as small as Grand Crew is, the commission started announcing results from Grand Crew on uh, October the 11th. And they continued to announce results up to the end of last week. I mean, it just raises a lot of questions. What is going on here? So the commission has integrity problem. The commission says bad people break the electoral laws. Take for example, the election law clearly, frowns on public officials. The code of conduct, the same thing, frowns on public officials actively, campaigning. But the very elections commission says back and allowed the CDC to do whatever it chooses. So, Mr. Cooper Kura, the former minister of Post and Telecommunication, the administration let him go because they said he went to a political rally. But it is the same administration that took the commissioner of the maritime program, Eugene Nambe, and made him chair of the CDC campaign. Isn't that double standard? It's the same administration that took the chairman of the Good Governance Commission and made him to go out into Nima and other places to campaign. The same administration allowed LBS to use the taxpayers' airways to allocate 70% of its broadcast materials to the campaign of the ruling CDC. The NEC says nothing, the government says nothing. So, the credibility of the commission, I don't know how this is going to really play out, but Liberians are determined and they have demonstrated that. They demonstrated that on the 10th that, look, Mr. Weah, we will make you a one-term president. So I strongly believe that despite all the political manipulation, I think Liberians are prepared to let Mr. Weah go.
I
So
think,
you
real quick,
okay,
sorry.
go
I
ahead.
Yeah,
think it's not sufficient that the Liberian people go to the polls and vote. I think the safeguards need to be put into place to protect the Liberian people's votes. Um,
Alfonso, you're not going to get that.
well, I think we can insist upon it and make the necessary noise. I can add the political parties who are players in the process should begin to speak up. I don't hear them speaking out. They're not playing their role. I think that is a problem. The international community will not do it for us. We need to do it. They will show us the way, but we have to do it. I think civil society organizations need to begin to speak up. I am heartened by what you said earlier that three political parties are asking for a forensic audit. I think they
Oh,
should ask
yeah.
for a recount. They should ask for an audit of the votes because of the way the votes were announced. Nobody know where the votes came from. Nobody has a record of it. We want to see record. They should ask that the National Elections Commission should publish um, polling place data, which means, and it's possible, just take the tally sheets from each polling place and just put them on your website. Monserrato, district number one. Here are the tally sheets on the from district number one, for instance. Put on the website. Let people go in and look at the numbers. That is necessary for transparency. The way they announced the results, the way they counted, there was no transparency in the process. If we go into this process without insisting on these things, after the election, we start making noise legitimate, you're wasting your time. So they need to put people, Unity Party people and other people are saying that in the Southeast, for example, the vote numbers were just increased because at a lot of the polling places, they didn't have representatives there. One, you need to protect the people's votes by putting representatives there. There's no way you cannot have representative polling places. And then, of course, they need to start speaking out. Go to court, go to election commission, go to court, and insist that election commission does its job. Don't wait until after election before you start making noise. You'll be in court, inauguration will take place. They will not move nobody from in the mansion. That's a fact.
So yeah, so I mean, everything you guys are saying here are just the things that need to be considered when it comes to how this runoff gonna go, because apparently this runoff thing now is the way that we determine our president.
Mhm.
In the runoff, you can then see that the gap is narrowed, and when the gap is narrow, then the incumbent always has the greater
Advantage,
chance.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So considering these things, we know 18 opposition candidates are sitting at the sideline now. They themselves are all, you know, uh, ready to start bargaining. And I just showed the picture of Alexander Cummings. I don't know how can you be in opposition all alone. Now you're talking to the incumbent when you go into runoff. Somebody got to explain it to me. So maybe, gentlemen, you know something I don't know, because recently we heard that Cummings said he was going to be neutral.
Yeah.
Now he's talking to the two big guns. So where does he stand? How can you be opposition? You pleaded for 6 years with Liberian people. WIA is the wrong thing. WIA is the wrong thing. So in the first place, you're not even supposed to go see WIA. You should be talking to Joseph Boyka, the very man you had the opportunity to stand with when we have said, meaning we, meaning the Liberian people said, for a better opposition, a credible opposition that will hoist we are in this very one round that just passed, or first round rather that just passed, it took Barker and Cummings to join. It didn't happen. But equally, you blasted, blasted, blasted. You say we are not the right fit. So why are you now talking to we are? You should only be dealing with Barker, putting your cards on the table to hold that conversation. So how do you guys see this? Because it doesn't make sense to me. I got no business talking to Weah. I was opposing him for 6 years, and only because
Yeah,
I lost the elections now, so Weah is part of the conversation. No, he shouldn't be a part of the conversation. There's no bargaining chip here. Cummings shouldn't be advocating for anything because he's already a man who has made himself. That's my point. He should have his own emotion, the way he sees things, the way he decides, not to be influenced by anyone or to create some kind of optics here that people will say, oh, wait a minute, Cummings trying to balance the equation. There ain't no balancing of any equation here. This thing was one-sided from the beginning. You said you didn't want to do anything with Mr. Weir. So I don't see the reason why now you're trying to go between the two when you're one of the biggest opposition. How do you take my views, gentlemen? Because I'm concerned with Cummings. I'm really concerned with Cummings, and I would want to see what these visits he's made. What does it do in this runoff? What does it do? Because these are the kinds of things that confuse the poor people. It confuses the people because now you're telling the people, say, we are still a better man. If you, Mr. Cummings, has been one-sided against we are all along, then why are you now visiting Mr. Weir? Paint that picture for me, Moses or Alphonso.
but look, Volcano, I stand with you on this 100%. And for every time, some of these things Mr. Cummings does publicly, it just making, unstable. This is the man who is known in Liberia for repeatedly saying that if a man does one thing repetitively the same way and still expect different result, that equates to insanity. So Mr. Cummings is telling us that he's insane because Mr. Cummings himself has consistently preached that George Weah is not a good fit for the presidency. Mr. Weah must go. Since 2016, Mr. Cummings, when he was in the race for the presidency, he campaigned against George Weah that he was not competent for the presidency. Since then, he continues to preach the same message. George Weah must go. Why are you having a meeting with George Weah? The both of you are not on the same wavelength. The two of you have different perspectives on the kind of Liberia you want. So why are you going to sit with this man to say what? Oh, you want to come across as what? Mr. Peacemaker? That's been deceptive. Everybody knows that you don't like George Weah. You don't like George Weah because you said George Weah is a criminal. George Weah is unfit for the presidency. You say George Weah represents the tyranny of democracy. You say George Weah is an epitome of the tyranny of democracy. You say that every day. Then today you're sitting with a man, you're sipping wine. Come on, man, comments, man. The double standard thing here, it doesn't work. You're either for or you're against.
And
Where,
honestly,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I will say this honestly. I don't see any political party, like Flomo Livingstone says here, any opposition political party should be even bargaining. That's why they had the opportunity to do what we
Yes.
consider the coalition,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
They had a The very CDC has a coalition. It's not the Congress, it's now the coalition for democratic change.
Right.
The NPP, our main party, Paul,
Yeah, PLP.
God, God rest his soul, PLP,
Yeah,
the man
Kasa,
Alfred
Kasa.
Joseph to the main party, and he gave it to we are.
Yeah.
He gave it to we are. So the Bonard Benson, DJ Bob Blue,
Yeah,
right?
DJ, yeah.
DJ Blue was the chairman of the PLP under Alfred Dole.
Okay.
But, but when he sent the party over to CDC,
He
now
got
it's
elected.
so is now he's now considered to have won his seat as a CDC a sedition,
Sedition, yeah, yeah.
which is the coalition arm, not the Congress,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying this to say that you have all the chance. If you wanted to be talking to we are, then you should have just taken CPP.
Go get ANC and give it to Weir.
Yeah. So I mean, I have a serious problem. No opposition political party should be having any conversation with the incumbent. I stand by that because I can't say I'm against something all along. They will come now to second round. Then I start negotiating. What are you negotiating
What are you
for?
negotiating?
Negotiating for money. You're negotiating for
For
jobs.
jobs,
It
yeah.
means that you didn't come to really stick to it and be an opposition to fight the incumbent and get the incumbent out of power. Some of them came to these elections, paid a small money to register as a political party, hustle their way around this small campaign, and they get
Credit, they
0.2,
went all what they play borrowing money, right?
they feel like 0.2% vote can make any difference. And so they
Yeah,
want to start bargaining. You can
yeah,
imagine how many of these kinds of pictures will come up. But
yeah.
Alfonso, I saw
Yeah,
the bunch
yeah.
of
Let me just complete my
right?
thoughts, and
Yeah.
Alfonso, please just give me a chance. Let me complete my thought. So, as I was saying, Volcano, look, you could not have said any better. All the people that were running around Monrovia, calling themselves oppositions, no reason to sit with George Weah because you said the man is not good for the country. So why are you sitting with him? What are you trying to prove? So everybody trying to make their way. Oh my man, I want the Ministry of Finance. I want go to defense. I want be ambassador. Is that why? And like I said on October the 9th, when I had my podcast, I I said that our people should not allow themselves to be used by these politicians. And what Mr. Cummings and the others are doing is a graphic example. Do you know the number of young people that that ran behind Mr. Cummings, that were affected by political violence as a result of supporting him? And today he's so conflicted. He doesn't know what he wants. Whole meeting with George Weah. So they come, like you said, they come, they tell these people, say, oh yeah, this is where we stand. And then at the same time, they're having double negotiation. The voters become what? Confused. Because they are the one now that's supposed to be going to the pool to vote. But they themselves, they're not even sure what to do. Oh my man, Mr. Coming met with George Weah. So who do I vote for now? Or he met with Joseph Boaka. Who do I vote for? You either for or you against Mr. Cummings. That's how it works. And let me wrap it up by saying that while he's holding meeting with George Weah, he and three other political parties, they got together, including the ANC. They said, oh, we want forensic audit. Man, Cummings, man, don't confuse us. Yeah, you want audit? Then you holding meeting with George Weah? You said the outcome of the process was ridiculous. Then why you holding meeting with George Weah? Look, let me stop there, Alfonso.
I agree
Yeah,
with you all that. There's nothing else to add. I mean, and I think the Liberian people need to begin to start holding the politicians accountable. As you both said, these guys go around talking about how bad the system is, how they want to fix it, how they want to reform it. They carry brooms, how they want to sweep everything, corruption, all of that, how corrupt the system is. There are a lot of other people who just register or participate in the race because they want jobs tomorrow. They want, to have these types of consultations and whatever. I will not yet go as far as saying Mr. Cummings will do that, even though I'm concerned that he's even having these meetings. We don't know the circumstances under which he's going to these meetings. Apparently, he was invited and he didn't. He doesn't want to say no. I will not come, but that's an element of risk involved in that, which is what we're seeing now. We're seeing photos. So whether you agree or you don't agree, yeah, we're still seeing
In the
photos
photo
out
already,
there.
my man.
That
Mhm,
is the
mhm.
element of risk that's involved in these kinds of things, and so they need to be careful what they do. But as I said earlier, if you say you are coming to fix something, that means there was something that was broken in the first place. That is the
Right.
implication. Something is broken and you're coming to fix it. So Mr. Cummings and his ANC CPP said they were fixers. If you are fixers, then you shouldn't be joining with the thing that was broken in the first place. You should be joining with people who are aligned with you in fixing that thing. If you said you were coming as a reformer and you're coming to reform something that was broken, that's old, that needs reform. So you can't be meeting with those people and joining with them. The same thing with my big brother, Councillor Gongolo, and same thing with Lucini Kamara. So I think these people need to rise above personal interest. They need to rise above whatever bribes people bring in. I term those things as bribes. In fact, the election commission actually terms them a bribe. Liberian law terms them a bribe. Giving somebody something to influence their vote is a bribe. So they need to rise above this whole thing about bribery and taking bribes, because that why do we have 49 people in the race? That's the reason why. Because tomorrow somebody will call me to sit with them and I give my vote to them. So I think we need to speak out, which is what we're doing now. It's a good thing. We need to speak out. We need to expose these people. We need to go back and play some of their statements that they were making the other day about how terrible this one side and the other side was, and say, but you said this yesterday. What are you saying today and what's going on today? And we need to send a clear message to them that any one of them who makes the wrong decision this time around and keeps Liberian people or put Liberian people in perpetual suffering for 6 years, their political career, they should just count their political career over. I think that message should be sent to them. Because a lot of people, as you all said, they're joining the race so that people can call them and get them money or promise them position. We'll give you one ministry, we'll do that, we'll give you this job and whatever. And we need to expose these people. And I hope Mr. Cummings, as Volcano said, he has money, so he shouldn't be looking for money. He can pay some of the little children behind him who want jobs. Said, no, my people, let's not spoil our name. Let's not spoil our chances. I will open a company and put you there for you to be this, then that. But let's do the right thing. I hope Tiawan Gonglo, the human rights person who's been rolling against corruption and everything, will see that as well. And I hope that Mr. Lucini Kamara, who wanted to reform and protect his people and continue the outcome, whatever legacy they say they have, will also see that as well and make the right decision on behalf of the Liberian people. Our country is drowning. Just listen to what this young man who was a Peace Corps in Liberia the other day,
Mhm.
appointed, nominated as
Ambassador,
ambassador
yeah.
level. Just listen to what he's saying. I mean, international people have taken their money. How many investment you have in Liberia? How many private companies operate in Liberia? Because of corruption, they're not going there. They're not investing. People don't have jobs. As bad as Ellen, we say Ellen Selly was. Under Ellen Selly, how many places we had? We had that palm company in Bumi, how they call it, I forget the name. We had a palm company in Sino, Golden Verilium. We had the logging companies. We had the iron ore company. A lot of those companies have left the country because of corruption and mismanagement. People don't have jobs today to run it around. Crime has gone up and everything. And you want to play games with the Liberian people? I think we should tell these politicians and send a clear message to them. And we in the media should expose them every step of the way. And I'm happy we're doing that tonight.
I think honestly the best negotiation here from my perspective, if I were in any opposition uh political party or a standard bearer for a political party, my best negotiation would be with Waka.
That's it.
Because there's no need to meet with we are under no circumstance. If I had advocated all through the campaign that we had a horrible thing, you don't need him, we got to move him, then my negotiation should be with Baka. I'm going to Baka and say, my man, yes, the party, yes, the support. What's in it for, for me? But you go into WIA, then it means you want to retain the status quo. All of the things that you've done so far up to these 6 years and forming political party and jumping in the race, it was irrelevant. It was irrelevant for you to even sit with WIA, knowing that these things you were doing was to get him out of there. I mean, that's the picture. No political leader outside of the CDC coalition should be meeting with WIA at this time. Honestly.
Yeah, 100% right, Volcano.
Sarah Yanti
Well,
Beslo better don't even
part of
try.
the problem, sorry,
So
yeah,
yeah. Sarah Beslo, she shouldn't even try. What the beginning? Clarence, Moniba,
Moneyba.
you know, integrity or lawyer, Tiawon Gonglo.
You don't know all these people.
You shouldn't be sitting down where we are.
No, shouldn't.
You should be sitting down with Mr. Bwakai. If you guys have all along wanted to remove Mr. Weir. So that's the thing that I'm looking at here. How many of these pictures gonna come out? There's another picture of Appleton and Bwakai. And
Yeah.
that's what I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Appleton insatiable quest and desire was to remove Mr. Weir. Then the only person who went to the runoff with him is that person you should be negotiating with. Because if you negotiate with Weir for anything, it's just because of money. And it's also because of jobs.
Jobs, yeah.
You can still get that
Material wealth. That all, yeah.
somebody said Alex Tyler said we don't live up to his promises when it comes to the runoff. I
But then
saw
I go Joel Howard
yeah,
Taylor.
I saw a
Yeah,
clip.
yeah.
But yeah, Alfonso, you wanted to say something.
no, definitely. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think if those Liberia needs redemption, Liberia needs redemption, and these people owe it to the Liberian people with all the messages they've been preaching to really demonstrate that to the Liberian people. And that they do not do that, they should be erased from the political scene in Liberia completely because they would not have lived up to the things that they were saying. They would have come across as just being fooling the Liberian people and being very deceptive to the Liberian people. There's no way you can say how corrupt, how inept, and everybody sees it. The people on the ground, international people are all talking about it, and you still go and join with this man, or you say I'm neutral. What's neutrality, by the way? What do you mean by neutrality? What does that even mean? People are dying because hospitals are not being given money to run the hospitals, and you're neutral about it? Is that what you're neutral about? Crime has risen, no jobs for young people, drug has permeated the country, and you're telling me
And you
I
say
would be neutral?
I will be
Neutral in
neutral.
what? But you were asking for the Liberian people yesterday, and now you're going to be neutral only because you were not elected. So you're basically telling Liberian people to help with you. Go suffer. Saying you didn't make me president. The only way I would help you if I were president. Say I'm not president, I don't care about you, I will be neutral. That's basically what you were saying. And we in the media, and I hope we get to the point of the media, The Liberian media has basically let the Liberian people down.
Uh,
Look at their headlines. Look at what's on their airwaves. There's no media in Liberia anymore. And I raised this issue a few times with the Agile people. You're collecting laptops and you're sending this and you're giving money to people. Who you're giving it to? What's the basis for that? So they can go and collect capital and still undermine the profession and the country. We all need to start reassessing ourselves. We all need to start putting pressure on the institutions that and the individuals that say they were advocating for us and they were standing for us. You're right, Volcano. You're right, Moses. At this point, nobody should even be going to negotiations as to who to support if you were in the opposition. It should be clear. They should have announced it even before the first round. In this, if there's a second round, I will support the opposition. Will work together and we'll start
yeah.
on a clean slate. And I tell you, they have the opportunity now to create a clean slate for Liberia because the oil can come and take portions of the government and of the country and of the programs that are needed and contribute to taking this country out of the hole that we're in. We're in a deep hole. We're in a very, very deep hole. And anybody who plays with it, we should just cross them out. But yes, that's what I would say to that.
Yeah.
And I
Now,
think, I mean, yeah, Moses,
mhm,
that's the hypocrisy, like you use the word all the time on
yeah.
the part of these people. Listen, I was in a conversation. The guy said, "Oh, I spent 500,000. I just waiting for the runner so I can get my money back."
Can you
I
imagine
was
that?
like- So he got in the race knowing that he's not
He
going to win,
wasn't going nowhere. Yeah.
but he didn't spend 500,000.
No.
But he going to put 500,000 to the bargain on the bargain
Yeah.
table. And even
Yeah.
if he walks away with 300,000, but he spent 100,000, he gets profit.
Of
Do
course.
you recall that one time they were saying that we are on the modus operandi
Oh, yeah.
that he was getting money for, the runoff.
Runoff election. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the way he was getting a few millions to save for 6 years. So people go into the race and find this thing to be some kind of money making scheme. Many of the candidates didn't come with a heart in this thing to win, or they didn't come to really unseat this president. They went in there because they knew that monies would be thrown at them
Mhm.
by the incumbent. Money would be thrown at them. Bargaining chips will be thrown on the table, and the best bargainers will get the best gains. Honestly, and this is detrimental to the future of the Liberian people. And only if the Liberian people could see reason to say, listen, my mind is made up to vote for Wia and I'm going, or my mind is made up to vote for Barca and I'm going, it's going to just be serious confusion. Because when you see pictures of Cummings and in both sides of the camp, and you start to see the other political candidates similarly, then that in itself kind of confused the people as to, well, whose side should I go on now?
Yeah.
You gotta you listen. How many times we don't know that the best team in the World Cup has been Brazil? How many
Yeah.
times?
We
All
do.
right. So then all of the African teams, 5 African teams, have the opportunity
Qualify.
to enter the
Yeah.
world,
Hmm.
and all of y'all won't go after Brazil.
Yeah. As
Then
Africans,
finally,
what do we do?
yeah, coming on. Then finally, Ghana qualifies, right?
Yeah.
Let's say Ghana qualifies in the final against Brazil. Then you Liberia here,
You see,
Ivory
our
Coast.
trauma way behind
Then you
Brazil.
see we go support Brazil. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
They say all the people having meeting or all the supporters of Brazil. Then you go there, you sitting among the people. They say I thought that guy is from Liberia.
And listen to what Thomas is saying. And I think yes, he did say that. I thought Cummings said he will support whoever ends up the opposition
He
leader.
did.
So just going to see we are it's not.
No. But
It's,
look,
we're not trying to see your fine faces and come be smiling around here. You carrying Mariah. We're not looking for picture here. We're looking for the best for this country, the best for Liberia. So that historical picture,
mhm.
50 years from now, and say, oh, one shot man called coming what, in the race. No, we're looking at the future of this country.
But look, Volcano, if I could say this right, uh, the photo that you see out there today is a defeat for Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings told Liberians that Liberia is on autopilot. You got hundreds of Liberians on this plane with no pilot. The future of the country is in danger, as per your own definition, Alexander Cummings. No pilot. While the plane is heading that way, the man who caused the plane to go without a pilot, then you sitting and having a meeting with the man. Are you now an evil man? Or you were just talking because you didn't know what you were talking about? How can you be an opposition, political leader? You're so inconsistent like this.
And I think that's some of that influence coming from his old man,
Yeah,
Ellen.
but look, Volcano, people have to stand for what they believe in. That's what we call integrity.
You see, Ellen was trying to influence who should be your running mate.
Yeah.
Now, the very Ellen, I'm sure, got her hand inside this other picture taking. I'm going to take some pictures so
Go
we can,
take picture with him, man.
yeah, so we can confuse the people.
I mean, this is today's
And
meeting.
honestly, Moses, I don't care who say what they want to say. Oh, but the president, the mega,
No, man, no.
don't come there with me because
No.
as a Liberian voter, my mind is made up if I'm going for CDC or if I'm going for the opposition. All
But
that other thing that you're doing, because many of these kinds of pictures are coming up. I won't be surprised with Gonglo. Oh, I'm not saying you can't have conversation with Mr. Weir, but you should just have a conversation with my man. I told you from the beginning we can't move you, so don't call me again.
look,
Just take picture and drink wine.
quickly,
And
Volcano. If I could just say this right, look. Sometimes you have to look at the prevailing situation. When someone places a phone call to you, if you and this person are at loggerhead because of what you believe in, and it gets to a critical point where people are looking at the both of you, and you think that answering that call or making that visit will make people to have a different thought about you, regardless of who the person is. That's where you define yourself. Mr. President, I respect you. But unfortunately, I cannot come to see you because we are on different spectrums when it comes to the kind of Liberia that we want. Do you know what it means for someone who called George Weah, who refer to Liberia as being autopilot, sitting down with the very man who he attributes this problem to? That's double standard, the Zana comments. I don't know what my brother Monique Kishan will say again. Because he's one of the generals, Munel, preaches the message
Francine
consistently. Hmm.
Francine Chenoweth,
Yeah,
richest.
Francine. Yeah, Yasini, our sister. Oh, we won't be neutral. Oh, then you go have meeting with George Weah at neutrality. I don't know how they would define that. You call the man the most corrupt, the most incompetent. You and your followers. Then you say with this man, you're begging bread together. Comments, man, you let us down. You let us down. You let Liberia down. You can't do this.
All right, gentlemen, it's 12:26 here in
Yeah.
Monrovia. We like to uh, say thank you guys for being here with us tonight. We'll be wrapping up very shortly. Uh, the conversation here tonight is about the runoff and what we see trending. A lot of these kinds of photos will be coming up in the coming days. There will be a lot of lobbying, but overall, we'll see how the Liberian people will make the decision for their own destiny at the end of the day. Some people say they will vote angry. A lot of people say they will vote angry because they thought it was one round, and now that they have to go to stay in the line again, they will
Yeah.
vote.
I agree.
Um, but let's go around the room quick before I do the memory lane, um, because today is considered United Nations Day.
Yeah.
What's
So
his
we got
name?
something.
UNESCO
Dr.
wrote
Sumo.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote something on it. Um, but what's the hope for a credible runoff? Alfonso, let's start with you. What's the hope for a credible runoff?
I have very little hope for a credible runoff. I think the people of Liberia demonstrated in the first round that they're interested in democracy and they're interested in being the people who decide who their leaders should be. I, however, have concerns with the National Elections Commission, the body that's running the elections, in terms of not just their ability, but also their credibility. They have not demonstrated transparency. They have not demonstrated fairness in the process. They've not demonstrated openness, and I'm afraid that in the first round they will repeat, but not only repeat, even do worse in the process. And I think that because of that concern, that we all should begin to make noise. Again, they haven't demonstrated credibility. Take, for instance, voter registration that was done by what? How they call it? BVR voter registration.
Alleges.
Biometric system. No,
Yeah,
biometric.
voter registration. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. By the
In
NEC. Yeah.
biometric voter registration, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how many kids we had that passed through the process that registered. In the biometric voter registration, there were about more than 700, 7,000, 700 or more than that that voted, that had double voting. That is a concern. You can't be doing fingerprints of people and then people are still able to register more than once. That is a concern. The National Election Commission also failed to publish the final voter roll on time. They published it, I think, 1 or 2 days before election. So
Mm-hmm.
political parties didn't have time to go check the voter roll to see who was eligible and who was not eligible and whose name was on the list. As if I live in, mostly like to say, Tumpo Village, if I live in a place in Tumpo Village and Volcano, I know Volcano don't live Tumpo Village, but Volcano name is on my list. If you publish the list 1 week or 2 weeks ahead of time, I'm able to go look at the list and say, well, no, 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 the man, I live here and protest. That is the reason why the law requires for the list to be published. But if you publish the list the night before voting time, I can't know that.
Yeah.
Therefore, Volcano can come and vote, even though he didn't register or he don't live in the
Mm-hmm.
area. That was a significant failure on the part of the neck, and that leads me to wonder when people were asking questions. One of the things the neck chairman said, "Oh, we're trying to encrypt." Are you kidding me? Encrypt document takes 6 months to
Yeah.
encrypt a document. So again, that leave room to wonder what they were trying to do, especially all of these reports that people were brought from different countries, that people voter registration. How do we know that they're not buying for voter registration and giving it to these people who didn't know who vote for them? But
Okay.
if we have the list and all of these things, we can try to guide against those things. I also have concerns with the way they announced the election results and the way they published the election results. There was no transparency in the process. I
No.
have concerns that they're not trying to implement the election laws. They see people blatantly violating election law and they do nothing. They say nothing. I'm concerned about that. So in all of these things, really my faith in the election commission is shaky. But I also hope that political parties who have a vested interest, civil society organizations, media that calls itself the fourth estate, people can begin to speak on against these things and to try to safeguard the process. That's the only way we can make it. We have to safeguard the process, or else they will have a free reign to do whatever they want to do. I'm sorry I was long winded in the process, but yeah.
This is
Yeah.
meaning,
Yeah.
what's your hope in a credible runoff?
I am apprehensive. Yeah, as any of you guys tonight, because we're dealing with an institution that has integrity problem. The NEC had lost its credibility, and then to see an administration that is in the state of desperation, people literally throwing money at people, anything can happen. We look forward to a free and fair, transparent process, but the NEC that we have today, there are yet too many questions regarding its integrity. And quickly, let me wrap it by saying this: that look, ACO, Alexander Cummings, and all the other guys, Cyril Baslow, and all those other people, Councillor Gonglo, you can't do this, man. You just cannot hold a meeting with George Weah. Any of you hold meeting with George Weah, then you are defeated the purpose. You said you were opposition. You can't be holding meeting with somebody that all of you agree. There's this commonality that the man is not a good fit. Your contract is being destroyed. Then you hold a meeting with the same man to say what now? Oh yeah, my man, I want to go to labor. Councillor Gonglo, you can't do that, man. Yeah, you just can't. That's how I like to wrap it, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Let's do the memory lane here by Dr. Mani A. Sumo, or A. Mani Sumo, titled United Nations Day. By that time, life was sweet. It was normal days, and we were young and happy. We celebrated life. We hoped to be adults to run our own shows. Now we are adults, and you remember July 26th, Liberia's Independence Day, then August 24th, Liberia's Flag Day. But I remember October 24th, United Nations Day in Arlington. Fire by force. We must assemble to drill in commemoration of the day. Memberlin is pleased to recognize the late Margaret Mason of Arlington, Montserrat County, Liberia. Thanks for all you did to educate young country boys and girls. I am a beneficiary. My last United Nations Day celebration was in Millsburg, Montserrat County. The guest speaker, an American white man, was a Peace Corps volunteer. Like we all did then, he walked for about 2 hours to get to the program on time. The rest of the invited guests, including the two city mayors, Arlington and Millsburg, were 3 hours late.
Hmm.
Happy United Nations Day to all around the world. On October 24, 1945, that the United Nations was born with the ratification of its founding document by the majority of its signatories, including the five permanent members of the Security Council. The United Nations officially came into being. I believe that the United Nations is the product of hope, the hope to resolve issues around the world. It is designed to resolve global conflict to global cooperation. Let us celebrate this day and thank the United Nations for giving a peace, or rather peace, a chance for the ending of conflicts that jeopardizes lives, futures, and global progress. For working to end extreme poverty, reduce inequalities, and rescue the sustainable development goals. It is my hope that with the spirit of the United Nations in mind, Liberians should brave November 7th, 2023, but instead is now November 14th, 2023 runoff elections with peace, fair play, and respect for Liberia and vote right. Happy United Nations Day to all Liberians. I come in peace. So mine is just pin a little historical piece here.
Mhm.
But how could the three Arlington and I mean the two mayor Arlington and Millsburg get to the program 3 hours? So what kind of program they were going to, my man?
Yeah,
What type of country is this?
whatever, whatever country is it when the Mel winning the election enter the whole national bank of and get throwing money at
The
people
thing
and say,
is,
I'll
the
buy your
people,
photo card.
but that same culture still continue though. Those people from Addington, they thought, hey, we are the leaders. The people will wait for us. We are their
Mhm.
bosses. That's what they thought. But the white
But what
man
type of
said,
country
no.
is this? Eh? What type of country is this? The man who came third in the opposition, who was very, 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 very clear that under no circumstance he would be talking to the incumbent. He would support whoever ends up as the opposition leader. But now dialoguing and
Dialoguing.
smiling on the picture just to say, when a small child get here Christmas.
Yeah.
What type of country is this that opposition not talk to the incumbent?
Well, very many negotiating positions or for a people.
He can't pay them, right? He can't pay them. He said, let
You
me
make
find
it
job.
pay people, yeah,
They ain't paid money for
you know,
her.
Musa
He don't
Benete say,
want to
my
pay
man,
them.
you own your own. Benete local company say you own your own. So they been hustling job for other people.
Why? I thought Billy said he would not support black guy.
Big,
Oh
but
yeah,
man,
yeah,
the man's already in the House of
Yeah,
Representatives.
he
So
got
what up
job
this
or
and that?
he
The man
got
feeling with your long time.
yeah, you got a job.
exactly. He got
The
his
man
own
got a beat,
job
my man.
already.
Yeah. He said, come in on your own.
What type of country is this, Jackie McAfee, that we are is fighting for power? He's been president for 6 years with nothing to show. And what do you want to do the next 6 years? Take Liberia off the map? Is that what you want to do, according to Shaggy McAfee? That's the question here. What type of country is this, Thomas Awaji? Is the dead body still lying on the street since today? No, Thomas. I came back with a I promised you guys I was gonna come back with a follow up. When I got back to the scene, the body was already put in a pickup and was removed by the authorities. Three ladies came and were crying, got on a motorbike and followed. I believe they were probably relatives of the gentleman who was uh, found on the street dead. Um, Accordingly, he had gone to armed rob just in the area and he got caught. And so, whatever happened, the authorities will do their investigation.
Yeah.
What type of country is this, Moses? That the elections commission was not prepared for the runoff, but now all of a sudden they prepare.
Oh, man, what are you talking about? I said if people in state of desperation, they say election commission will not get money. They say we give you the money there. You don't have to worry about that. But we gotta win the election at all costs.
What type
All
of
you
country
got to
is
do
this,
is
you know,
give it to
ladies
us.
too? That
Yeah,
a certain government will buy people voting cards just to stay in power.
I tell you, my man.
What type of country is this?
What type of country is this? What type of country is this that dishonesty has been institutionalized? It has become a way of life. What type of country is this?
What
What
type of
type of
country is
country is
this?
this that everybody
So
just
go
putting their
on,
mouth on
Alfonso.
us how corrupt and lawless we are, and our leaders don't even care?
I like this by Shaggy.
What
Read
type
it
of
for
country
Canada.
is it that Musa abilities just use ABC and CPPs and get what he wanted? Now that he has his position, his cell phone stopped receiving calls.
TPP
Come on.
calls.
Who told you that,
The
Shaggy?
mental comments, my man, is over there. You owe.
Who told you that,
Did
Shaggy?
you see in the photo? The people went to see John Weir. Did you see?
Yeah,
He
ability is
was in the
like,
photo. He
no, he's
was
just,
in there, right? Man,
mhm.
the man said comments on it. Oh,
Thomas Awaji, what type of country is this where people will sell their voting cards in future for
for
$20?
$20. It's sad, man.
Like in McAfee, whatever country is this that the ruling party pays foreigners to vote in our elections?
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, instead of bringing people from across the border.
Yeah.
What type of country is this that most opposition political parties are ballot driven?
That's a good one from I like that. Now what are people doing now? Bella driven, my man. Everybody looking for something to eat. Man. They say, my man, what is sending you? Oh, my man, that free people want. Oh, my man, chopping there. Oh, but my man, that plan won't go.
What type of country is this that the Liberian people will continue to reward criminals
Yeah.
with position of trust and integrity?
What type of country is this?
Because anyone you put in the parliament with a tinted character, like Moses uses the
Yeah.
word brazen corrupt character, right?
Yeah.
You literally vote that person in your parliament, the first branch of government that should be advocating for your change,
For your change,
for
my
your
man.
well-being. What type of country is this?
What type of country
That
is
these
this,
citizens
Volcano?
will continue to do this.
What type of country is this?
Look at the new lineup
Yeah.
of people who are being replaced. You're replacing the old order of those foodie garden, and I
But
use
the
the word
same kind of people in Roy.
you bring in some other people who just not far from them.
Yeah. And quickly, Volcano,
Or
just to
even
add on
worse,
to what you
even
said, right?
worse.
If I so quickly to just what Volcano was saying, what will
Mm-hmm.
a Nathaniel McGill do in the Senate? What
That's
will
just
a
cross
Bill
D.
Turner do in the Senate?
That's just go cross D. Just
Wow.
go fix the signature.
My
On
man,
the,
the way our
And
people
that
do things, my
let me tell
man.
you something, gentlemen. I give up on
and
this.
that's the problem we face.
It's sad.
I tell
And
you,
that's
my
the
man.
problem we face. Yes, it's a serious problem.
Because right now, these
Serious.
guys have solid sanctuary.
Oh,
9 years sanctuary.
9 years. You know, my man, the people allegedly stole from your country. It took the
In,
international
No, hold on,
community.
hold on, hold on, hold on.
yeah.
Is it
Yeah,
allegedly when
yeah.
Nathaniel McCoy himself? No, hold on.
Oh. No, but I want to use the white man.
But hold on now, hold on.
Yeah,
Is it allegedly when Nathaniel McGill confirmed it when he
yeah.
addressed the people
You
in Bunk
say,
County?
we all
Ele
use our
ele
yeah,
ele see everyone I see a bit of ele ho say it.
yeah,
I carry her. Ele can carry the home.
yeah,
Everyone died the horse will be here. So he confirmed that
yeah.
he
He
did
did.
steal.
I agree. So
And
the
get,
man,
and the man left from Volcano and come to my TV
yeah, my
and
give it
tells
so
you
we'll give
you
it to
clear
you.
all the roads, and you really believe that, and you give the man nine
Yeah,
years of
9 years.
sanctuary.
Hmm. 9 years.
So that's possible. That's possible in if we have a corrupt government. If we have Mr. Weah return,
Yeah, we
again,
like
all
that.
will
Yeah.
be protected. But by law, being in the
Hmm.
Senate or the House of Representatives doesn't protect you for any corruption that you've committed. In fact, because we have corrupt, we have that's why Milton TJ were in the Senate all of those years because the
Oh yeah. Yeah.
anti-corruption commission had accused and convicted him of crime and he was supposed to pay by it, but we have refused to implement that. That's why
Hmm.
Milton TJ was. That's more reason why we need to get rid of those corrupt bunch of people.
Let me read these things quick, then we'll come back, guys. I
Yeah.
want to throw something
Hmm.
off. I got a few here. Numbers are watching. What type of country is this where the president goes to work wearing sneakers on a Tuesday?
Man, they said the matter. In fact, he goes to the United Nations with sneakers. Oh.
Jackie McAfee, what type of country is this that keeps its citizens hungry just so they can control them?
Yeah,
As
that's
we all
true.
know, if you control a man's stomach,
Something.
you control his mind. Keep them poor and uneducated, and they will continue to worship you.
Yeah.
What type of country is this? Shaggy McCaffrey comes back. That okay with people stealing millions of dollars just to receive $10 or $20 here and there.
Hey man,
What type of country is
man,
this?
it's sad, man.
Yeah, but let me come back to the lineup here. I heard
Hmm.
Vani Shemo say he retired from politics. Is he retire or retiring
Oh,
himself
but
for the
man,
people?
Vanish Sharma is a shameless man.
I'm
Don't
coming.
waste
I'm
your time on
coming.
it. Yeah,
No, I'm coming. I just wanted to make it clear. Is
yeah.
he retiring or the people retire him?
But many people dismiss it, man.
When they retire you, then you can't stop or retiring. Why you retire when the people
Yeah,
retire? The
Vanish
people,
Sharma, you spent 9 years in the Senate.
the people retire Setuma,
Yeah.
retire him until they retire communal reset. They retire where the other man is, Milton TJ.
Francis Pay or Milton
Yeah.
TJ. Yeah. Other than when I think they
So
retired, but what? 12 senators. 12. Only three were re-elected. Three
well, John,
re-elected.
we gotta call it a night. I'm overly sleepy right now.
Yeah, I can
I
It's
see it,
know, my
man.
man.
I've been fighting it,
Yeah,
man. It's about
yeah,
what almost 1 o'clock here. But
Yeah.
again, great
I've been
conversation.
seeing you nodding off. Yeah,
It
I've been
was
fighting.
in a pleasure.
But yeah,
So,
let's look
man,
for November 14.
uh,
yeah.
This room should be back in the States. We will not be on the grounds to cover the runoff,
Hmm.
but we hope that Liberian people will do what is right for them. That's the
Yeah.
most important thing. Let me just take this last one quick from the two guys here. What type of country is this? Thomas Awaji, I rather Shaki McAfee that talks about being America's small brother but refused to follow America full year term for
Damn.
president.
Hmm.
Thomas Awaji, what type of country is this where people allow themselves to be manipulated over and over again? Who is really to be blamed?
There you
Hmm?
go.
Who can we blame? Is it the people or the people that's suffering the people again? But gentlemen, good seeing you guys. Let's call it a night. Thanks to everyone who showed up here
thank you,
tonight.
brother. You're doing.
We look
Yeah,
for we look
you're doing a
for
great job. Sorry for keeping you up until 1 a.m.
Thank you. Thank you, Volcano. We'll wish you a safe trip and we'll look forward to seeing you back in the issues room on Tuesday. But man, don't forget to bring my real original country rest. You know that the brown one, right?
mm.
Tell the people to cook that thing there with tobogi and let them freeze it so you can bring it for me.
Oh wow. I don't know.
Yeah.
You didn't have continental America fly? When you fly out of Africa, you know what
Before you read it, I'm
I
bring up a bit.
how we bring you. Really in the suitcase. Because the thing
Yeah.
about anything out of Africa, you never know what you will meet up with in what you
Yeah.
consider your transit point.
Yeah.
Your transit could be delayed. It's just too much,
Wow.
and I'm able to do it, my man.
No, my man, I just kidding, man.
You are just seeing the thing that plenty of white man to travel
Yeah.
that
But
work.
who can freeze country? Why the man want you to freeze country rights? Country right, country
Oh,
right. Bring it, man. Cook it. Why you want to get a man hot time? You want a man to
freeze
cook it and freeze it and bring it for you?
freeze that thing with a toboggy. I want to eat a
Wait,
typical
no freeze. You
African
bring the
rice.
real country right, you yourself cook it. What you talking? Myron can cook it. Why you want Volcano to cook the right and bring it and
And
freeze it?
I wanted to come from Africa. Cooked.
Already
I
cooked.
forget that's the
Already
original,
cooked.
right? I want
Ah,
it cooked
okay.
with the
Oh, okay.
original toboggy from Liberia, my man.
I move my mouth
That's
from
why.
inside that one. I move
Yeah.
my mouth. All right, man. Good night, Volcano.
Yeah, but my man, it was a pleasure. Thanks
Yeah.
for being there. And let's
Moses.
pray for
Good night, man.
Liberia. Yeah. Thank you guys. All
Yeah,
right.
what's up? All right.
Mhm.